You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform. And here on Newsfile, as always, we put Ghana first. Now I'll share with you some of the messages that you have been sending with us as we had the discussion. And this from Degura Batinos says every citizen, regardless of his or her status, fundamental human rights and freedoms must be respected at any point in time. Because our constitution does not support brutalities and instant justice, can these security officers be held liable for violating human rights? Collins Little Tete says the Caleb story confirms racism is not in the African dictionary, but tribalism. Yes, there's something that he also mentioned, and I'm sure we can play all the ostrich about it, but we know that this is serious. That he said he was asked, where is he coming from? And, there was reason for him to suspect that if he had answered that he was coming from somewhere else in this country, he would have suffered even the more. Elwe Nam Perez says the assault and intimidation are becoming too much. No wonder most fine journalists are now reading higher education in public affairs and public relations. Man Friday says that you can walk in and see deteriorating cars, but can't let others see it. This young journalist's suffering is very sad and shouldn't be condoned. This is really, really sad. Mozilla says, I love to be here on Saturdays since primary 6. Join us on Newsfile. Prince Henry in Koforidua says, what prevented the national security personnel from talking to the management of City over the issue of Caleb and Zoe rather than invading the premises as if the staff there were armed robbers? You hear what Caleb said? He said, if I had done one of the judgment debts and they were beating me that way, I understand. Paco, Mayor Eshen says, hey, journalism must be a very difficult and dangerous job. Sometimes it is, it shouldn't. Nyavo John says, until we stop rewarding party foot soldiers with recruitment into such sensitive institutions like the national security, these things will continue. See, I know of someone who was a dropout way back during primary school. Today, his party comes to power and he is an operative at national security. You don't know if he had improved himself over the period and is qualified. But yes, that's why Dr. Prosakwesieni says he would prefer to call it regime security rather than national security. This one from Gasma says, I disagree with Professor Gajipo's assertion that our men, security, don't appreciate the work of journalists. The people who don't understand the people who don't understand are the ones the politicians have infiltrated our security. Article 202.2 of the Constitution must go. IGP subject to the control of direction of politician. Not good. Bevu MK Mens says, go to our police station and see the inhumane treatment. It's Caleb today. It has it's Caleb today and has the voice. What happens to those of us without the voice? Number one, no one takes the police on, so they keep getting away with it every time, and even you do get it somewhere. Sad country. Okay, it is true, we know that sometimes there are a bit of excesses in the police and elsewhere. People have actually been saying, look at Iyoko and the rest. Leadership is important. Iyoko, the new leadership. I have gone to Iyoko many times. They don't do what used to be there. So don't put one brush and say all of them are like that. This particular place, that's what it is. That's where we have to work. This one says, without justice, the most heinous crimes go unpunished. Victims are unable to obtain redress, and peace remains an elusive goal, since impunity generates more hatred, leading to acts of revenge and more suffering. Amalimbe Chris says, I am a proud trained journalist. I always admire Anas and Azuri for their brilliant investigative pieces. But hey, the way and manner journalists are being tortured and killed, my interest in investigative journalism is gradually dwindling by the day. I'll read this final bit. This is what happens when government after government recruits partyful soldiers and vigilante into the national security instead of professionals. Okay, so I've got to stop here. And Malik Dabu says that I once took a picture at the Accra International Conference Center and 2 police officers confronted me that it's a security zone. I fought with them. So where do we know is security zone? That's a question. So we are asking about the Galamsey fight and whether or not Otumfuo's involvement will bring us the needed end to this menace. Let's listen to Otumfuo Oseitu to the second.
I normally say, "Nana Pachoya can't the Wokrata no so me say my press me kana." And this I know me say be a mechanism fufrobia e den kakra. Say no crane me catch e wo say Galamsey ya ye kan nyina dem ha me chemu ye ne ye chemu say me ya yi wo ha ne chemu miensa e mu be 30% ni mo ma ye Galamsey ni nyina.
DCs as chairpersons of district security council should be held directly responsible for situations of illegal mining within their respective districts. They should ensure that, in collaboration with the regulatory authorities, small-scale mining is effectively monitored so it is done in compliance with the required practices and regulatory framework. And then illegal miners also can be stopped. On my part, I have already warned my chiefs and elders against participation in such illegalities and I will not hesitate to strongly sanction any such infraction. Already I've had reports about something happening in Amansia and the Fomna area, and I'll be investigating that to see what's happening. The need to actively involve traditional authorities in this effort is absolutely imperative, for they continue to be the custodians of our communities across the country. We should go beyond paying lip service to traditional authorities as custodians of our communal land and seriously and actively engage them in this collective crusade. For example, the current system, whereby licenses for concessions are given out before consulting traditional authorities, is dysfunctional and must be revised. It is my considered view that it will be most prudent to consult traditional authorities before licenses for concessions are given out. Does it not make a mockery when the Constitution says the minerals under the president is in charge of the minerals on the earth? But when you're going to mine the mineral, you go through the land that belongs to the chief. So why doesn't he have a right to know who is doing that?
Thank you for joining us, the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Abu Jinapor.
Thank you for having me, Samson, and very good morning to your cherished listeners.
This must be a shot in the arm for you to have Otumfuo himself speak in the manner he speaks and commit himself to, be a guard.
Absolutely. I mean, Asante-Hene's attendance at this consultation was a big impetus to whatever effort we are trying to make, and we are highly appreciative of that move. As you know, the Asante wields a lot of influence and has a lot of moral authority when it comes to Asante and Ghana. So his appearance was a good thing.
So far, so good, you will say?
Something. I don't know about that. I think that the matter before us, as I also indicated in my speech at the consultation in Kumasi, is a very complex one. It can be likened to the illicit drug trade, and the tentacles of it are many, and the interest groups are entrenched. And in this industry, you are talking about money. You are not just talking about money, you are talking about hard money, a lot of money involved in it. And so the tendency for people of all sorts and institutions of all sorts to compromise is always very high. So what I would say to you is that it cannot be an event. It has to be a process. And what is important is the concertedness and sustainability of whatever efforts we are trying to outlay, and whatever measures we are outlining and also enforcing. We have to be firm, we have to be determined, and it has to be sustainable. I mean, if you keep at it for a month or two, and then you take your eyes off the ball, you're certainly going to have a problem. So what I can say is that I'm not too sure about so far so good. I think that we are moving forward a bit. I'm told as a result of the measures we put in place, some of our River Pra, River Ofing, River Brim, and the rest are beginning to recover. Early days yet. Yeah,
those are the pictures I have seen. That give me the reason to ask the question I'm asking.
Yeah, you are right. You can ask that question, but I don't want to be ahead of myself. I want that, and I've said it. I want to teach. This is a collective effort, and let me use the occasion to thank my friends from the NDC leadership in Parliament, the Honourable Colin Dowda, the Honourable Yusuf Seni, Honourable Rashid Topo, Honourable Suini, and also the leadership of the MPP in Parliament, the various chairpersons of our committees in Parliament. They've been tremendous. Very supportive. You'll be surprised some of the measures they are implementing. Some of them have been ideas they have actually proposed. And if we all put our hands on the deck, I believe by all means, if we are not able to eradicate illegal small-scale mining in our country, we can see the incidences of it.
So you had a press gathering where you told us, you gave us some updates about how far you have gone and where else you are going, sending a warning to people ahead of time that they should expect that your team will be there. Operation Halt Part 2 will be there to deal with them. So take us again onto in terms of what you have been able to rescue. Which areas in the country can you say that so far you have secured and people will not be able to go back there and misconduct themselves? And then give us the numbers of the machines that you are decommissioning.
Well, first of all, River Pra, the military have largely, the Minister for Defense may be able to give you a lot more details, but the military have largely cleared River Pra. And hopefully all things being equal on Tuesday, myself and the Information Minister are going to embark on a tour of River Pra to ascertain for ourselves. But essentially, the reports I received is that River Pra is declared largely. They've worked on River Ofing to some extent. I think they are going to move to Surin also. But the larger mission, the larger objective is that all river bodies and forest reserves in our country are going to be cleared of illegal small-scale mining. Red zone, river bodies, forest reserves, those have been declared. They've been designated as such, and the military have been given express instructions by the President and African Commonwealth to rid our river bodies and forest reserves of illegal small-scale mining. But whilst at the time, let me also make the point that we need the support of everybody. In this struggle, I've been minister for just a month or so, two or so months, and what I've come to realize is that it helps a lot when you get encouragement from the country. Now, there's been this debate about decommissioning of excavators and the rest, and I've posed the question. what will an excavator be doing on the price? Why don't we start the conversation from that point? Why don't Ghanaians, why don't civil society organizations, media, why don't the pundits ask the question, what at all will an excavator or champagne be doing on the price or the pain of the brain?
It obviously will be doing an illegal business of Galamsey.
Yes. So that is the case. And this is a very extraordinary situation. And whenever you have extraordinary situations, you need extraordinary tools to deal with it, which is why it's because such an extraordinary, exceptional situation. That's why we're using the police, that's why we're using the Police Commission, that's why we're using the Ghana Armed Forces. And if the Ghana Armed Forces moves in, and these excavators, mostly when you go in, they will remove a part of it, which will mean that you cannot operate it. You have to get a low bed, which costs a lot, which in some cases cannot even reach the place where they are. And then you have to evacuate them, where you get the warehouse at the cost, put them in the warehouse, all know the problem.
You say you are working with the president's marching orders. So it is the president who has sworn on the Constitution to respect the laws of this country, who has asked you to use illegal means to fight an illegality, because what you are doing is contrary to the Minerals and Mining Act, is contrary to the Minerals and Mining Act instrument LI 2404.
But LI 2404 says, LI 2404 itself simply that before you can use an equipment for mining, you must register with the Minerals Commission.
That's
the
right.
place where you are going to use the equipment for mining must be designated and registered with the Minerals Commission. That's a breach of the law.
That's right.
Uh-huh.
So those that you have found, they have not registered with the Minerals Commission?
Certainly, they cannot be, because the Minerals Commission cannot register an equipment to be used on a river.
So the people in the Minerals Commission, what are they doing? What is happening to them? Is that not their job?
Well, we are looking at all of that. As you know, a lot of reforms are happening there as well.
Well, if they are failing and you find machines where they ought not be, what's the process of law? You are a lawyer. Tell me. If you arrest a thief, do you decapitate them?
You don't decapitate the thief at all.
Yeah, but what do you do?
You don't decapitate the thief, but the law enforcer has a lot of discretion to deal with situations as he finds them. If the law enforcer moves to a place to find cocaine and he cannot evacuate the cocaine, should he leave the cocaine there for the president turn around and come and have use of the cocaine? No. There's law enforcer in the heat of affairs will not have to be theoretical. He has to be practical.
The law enforcer who has all the power of the state cannot gather the evidence to prosecute and ensure that the law is followed. The law enforcer must use the law. Is that not the case?
You don't need an excavator to prosecute as evidence. The evidence they require to prosecute, they collect them. But I'm saying to you, Samson,
but why did you make the law? What is the law for? The law that regulates how the excavator should be managed. And when you find one, the law says, be patient. Put the people through prosecution. The court, after he convicts them, will make an order for forfeiture of the excavators or other products. And then it says you will distribute them to state entities that need them. Why are you not following the law? Is that not simple enough?
Well, it will mean certainly something. With the greatest of respect to you and your interpretation of the law, it will mean that the 5,000 champagnes on the rivers of our country, we have to collect all of them and put them together. That's what it will mean. If we are going to, in all respect, if we are going to interpret the law in this narrow manner, it will mean that we have to gather about.
Is that the law, or is a narrow interpretation? I am not interpreting the law. Do you want me to just read it? It says, do what I am just talking about. You are not doing that. You are saying this is extraordinary. Extraordinary means you must put the law aside. Is that what you're saying?
No, that's what I'm saying.
But you are not following the law.
No, not that's what I'm saying. I'm saying you take the totality of the circumstances and you have regard to all the laws, LI 2404, Act 703, Act 995, put all of it together, the Constitution, and so on and so, the public good and all of that. I would find the conduct of the military justifiable under law. I find it justifiable under fairness. I find it reasonable. Somebody can change the law. But I'm saying, if we are going to go by this interpretation of the law as enunciated, it will mean that about the 10,000 or more champagnes on our river.
And I said, I'm not interpreting the law. I'm just reading the law to you. I'm not interpreting it.
Well, but that's the.
You agree that you are not following the law, correct?
No, I don't. I vehemently disagree with you on that.
You are breaking the law.
No, we are not.
The law says seize them.
We are not. We are not breaking
the law. Says seize them.
The law on the contrary.
Let a court make an order of forfeiture. Those that you are set alight. By what order are you setting them alight? The president's order?
I am saying to you that the law empowers the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources to ensure that our country is rid of illegal small-scale mining. That's the same law. Your office
is created by law, so you respect the law.
This is a very topical matter. If you can have one at a time, so that I just make my position quite clear, because this is a very.
No, you have made your position clear. I'm just following up, and I just needed us to clear that. The law is black and white and doesn't need further interpretation. And in fact, you amended it 2015, and subsequently in 2019 or 2019, you amended it again. You didn't put anywhere that you seize excavators and burn them.
No, that's what I'm saying. I am saying, my point is simple, and if you allow me for a minute, I'll make the point. My point is that our overarching mandate, rooted in law, first one to Act 703, is to ensure that we rid our country of illegal small-scale mining. That's a legal mandate. There's no question about that. That is sanctioned by law.
Which law?
But Act 703 requires that only lawful small-scale mining should happen in our country. So on the contrary, then what? Are you saying that it's lawful to have small-scale mining not licensed? Or are you saying that it's lawful to use an excavator which is not licensed by the Regional Commission pursuant to LI 2004? No, they're not suggesting so.
You need a law to set up a business in Ghana. If we find that you're operating a business office and you don't have a registration and you haven't gone through, we should come and demolish the building?
No, you shouldn't. But that's a simple.
Can you point me to which part of the law that says that you can take excavators and burn them?
You should never do that. You shouldn't go and burn down you shouldn't go and burn down a shop which is not registered. But the point I'm making is that when it comes to mining, you have to take the totality of the circumstances before you can come to the conclusion that a contract is justifiable.
Thank you. Let me get my other panelists into the discussion. Yes, Ken, let's hear from you.
Well, see, I can appreciate the challenge of the minister, but I think we need to establish the point that currently, as we speak, the laws we have do not allow us to do the demolition, the decommissioning and demobilization, as he's saying it. But that challenge, let me give you a typical example. You go in the middle of you go during the day and you go and see an excavator sitting on the prowl. The people have decommissioned it. It will take a civil works to even be able to get a low loader to the excavator to say you are going to move it away from there. So how do you leave it there for them to come back at night again to fix it? But Mr. Minister, humbly, I don't think the solution is not getting the law. I think the thing we should do, quickly get this law amended. We are definitely in a crisis. Let's get the law amended so that we are seen to be using legal means to be able to deal with the illegality. But I completely hear the challenges that we're facing. But the solution of it is not the way we're doing.
He's challenging you. You have said that they are using illegalities to fight illegalities. He's challenging. He says that what they are doing, they are mandated. He can't point us to any law.
I am not a lawyer, but reading the law as I see it, I don't see that. That is the power that has been granted to those who are enforcing the law to be able to do it. But I think there is a need, and the laws are made by us. And I think that the thing to do immediately is to be able to go and get the law amended so that this can be done. I think one of the failings we did in the past was pulling the military away from the fight, because the river bodies continuously are continuing to be destroyed. But I think it is also very critical, and I've heard the military also mention the fact that, and there's a video even that you can see where they talk about somebody is 2 kilometers away and we are narrowly defining the boundaries with just the 100 meters away. Once your operations are impacting upon the water body, it's an illegality. So I think that with all the learnings that we have done, we need to quickly be looking into ways as quickly as possible that we can do this. And the sustainability of this one of them would have been that it is based on law.
So tell me, what is the one thing that we didn't do and failed in the big campaign that started? You are the coordinator of that campaign. So what is that one thing that we need to pay attention to?
It was the partisan involvement in the Galamsey. That was at the base of it. The fact that politicians were involved in it. So when Otumfuo says that 30% of the people know the people who are involved, the fact is that the politicians, political people of high political influence who are involved in it. When the president put his political career on the line, everything else was going well enough. Till the point where then, as we were going around, you saw the NDC people start on the local ground, starting to instigate the people against the MPP. And then you started seeing the local MPP people on the ground beginning to start responding to it. You also saw the situation that once the NDC lost office, the MPP local people then moved in to take the concessions that the NDC was controlling. And so the leadership at the top could not deal with them. You have the situation of Operation Vanguard would arrest some of these people and calls will come to say then let them go. When I met the minister the very first time, even before his birthday, he said something which is very fundamental to this fight. It's leadership from him that has integrity. Leadership that will say that it does not matter what you do. So when the president meets, as Kennedy Japon reports, that he says to the executives, that conversation, the president should do it very openly and tell all of them. And they know them that are involved. Let me give you a typical example. The Upper Danger East Municipal.
They know them.
Yes, they know.
And they are chasing after their machines.
You see, and that tends. Typical example. Let me give you another challenge that made the fight fail. Aisha Wang. We all know the influence Aisha Wang had in this. You had the situation when she was arrested first. It was some various, charges that were brought against her. I had to take Occupy Ghana for them to amend it. That case in court, at least for me as a learned person, was going quite well. Then you get the Attorney General go to court and file nolle prosequi. We file a petition, no explanation was given. Then you think that the journalists who are involved in it. I've spoken to Anas. One of the questions he says to me is, what has happened to the investigation that they did?
Okay.